Good morning, everyone. I have excellent news. My wife is awesome, and she picked up my protractor for me. So we're able to do this work now, or I'm able to. All right, so let's look at number 2. I'm just going to work through this document one at a time, and we're just going to make sure that if you guys completed it yesterday, then you'll know how to do it, and if you didn't, you'll be able to follow along with me. Okay, let's look at number 3. The circle graph shows the percent of playing time a hockey coach gives to each forward line. The first line receives more than the second, and so on. Give the circle graph a title. Time played per line. Okay. And then we want to make sure that we're putting in the right amounts. And so I believe this is the first line, second line, third line, fourth line. So we'll say this is the first. This is the second. This is the third. This is the fourth. Okay, excellent. So we got that part started. Now I'm going to get my workbook. I'm going to start doing the work in there. I don't have very many pages left, thankfully, because we've been doing so much work lately. Okay, here we go. So the question reads, the question says, use a protractor to determine the angle of each section in the circle graph. Okay, so I'm going to do this. Maybe I'll do it on here for now, and then I will move it on over after. All right, where'd all my stuff go? Here it is. Okay, so let's see what the angle for this very first line is. So I'm first going to try to measure it up as much as I can to be accurate. Points in the middle. And I'm going to say that is an angle of, start on the bottom because it's on the left side. I'm going to say that is probably right around, I'd say like a midway point in between 120 and 130. So I'm going to say 125 degrees. I'm going to write it over here for now. 125 degrees. The second one is, put it right in the middle, line her up. Let's make this one 100, and it seems like it's not exactly what I thought it would be. It's hard to measure it perfectly. It doesn't seem as nice as I'd prefer it to be perfectly in the middle, but it doesn't seem like it's like that. It's definitely over 90, so it's going to be 100 and let's say 108 degrees. Okay, this is 108 degrees. And then this is the third line that I'm about to do. For how much ice time they got. And this one is exactly 70 degrees. And I shouldn't have to do my last one because I can just add them all up. So I need to do 360, or we're going to take away 360, subtract 125, subtract 108, subtract 70. What's that answer it gives me? I'm going to do it on my calculator because that is my preferred method right now. Got my phone out. Here we are. Okay. So we're going to do 360, subtract 125, subtract 108, subtract 70, and we should get an answer that is 57. All right. So my last one is 57 degrees. And let's see if I did that correct. I should come out with the right answer. Yeah, sure. 57, 55 is right around there. Okay, cool. So now I have all my angles. Now I need to see what my percentage of time is. So since I have my degrees written down, I should be able to pretty easily figure out what the percentage is. So if I start with my first line, first line's up here. I'll say first line equals 125 over 360. I'm going to write that down. And then I'm going to say second line. And that was 108 over 360. And then third line is 70 over 360. And fourth line. And that was 57 over 360. All right. Now, I'm just going to do the division. Use a calculator, and it'll tell me what my number is. to make it a lot easier. I don't know if the number will come out perfectly. We will see. Okay, this one is 35% of the time. First line's played. 108 divided by 360. This one is 30% of the time. Oops, percent, not degrees. Next one's 70. This is about 19% of the time. And that means my last number should be the remainder, if I did it correctly. So 30, 35, that's 65, 85, 84. That means this should be 16%. Okay, so this tells me how much time everyone is spending over the entire course of the game. If the team plays a regular 60-minute game, how much will each line get? So now what I can say is I'm going to keep these lines exactly the same, and I'm going to start doing some multiplication and figuring out the answer. So let's check that out. So now I'm going to do 60 times 0.35, 60 times 0.3, 60 times 0.19, 60 times 0.16, and that should give me my answers, right? Because what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, so the amount of time that I've traveled is 60. So what I'm going to say is what is 35% of 60, right? So 35 over 35, I could do 35 over 100 times 60, but I'm going to do it this way. And let's see what our answer comes out to. 60 times 0.35 equals 21 minutes. 60 times 0.3, 18 minutes. Okay. Next one is 60 times 0.19. So 11, let's say 11 minutes to make it easier. And that means I have only one thing left. So I have 21 plus 18. That is 40, 39 plus 11, which is 50. So this last one is 10 minutes. All right. So that should give me a rough estimate of how much time is being spent by each player line over a 60-minute game. So first we figured out what the degrees are. We measured the degrees, and then we figured out what the percentage is. Then we did 60 times that percentage, and that gives our answer. Okay. I hope that made sense to you. And we'll move on to the next question. Okay, so let's keep talking about how do we do the next section. So we have 5 over 12, and some of these numbers are not going to be turned into nice numbers, but what we want to do is we want to do the division statement, figure out what the answer is going to be overall, because it has a repeating digit eventually. For this one, it is 416. 6 is repeating. That's telling me that I'm going to essentially increase this. So 0.416 is like saying 41.6%, which rounds up to 42%. Then we do the next one, and we can just go through each one of these and look at the digits and say, okay, what does this round up to? So if this is 41 and it rounds up to 2 because the 6, this is 38, and this 8 tells me to round up, so it's 39. And we just go through this one at a time, and this is how we can find the percentages when we have not very nice numbers that we're dealing with. It's like 14%, and this one is 53%. Okay, now the exact same idea is used on this next page when we have a number. So if it gives us 60, we'd say 60 over 360, and then what would that be as an answer? And we get the answer 1.67. So let's say 16.6%. Okay, but we want to round it to just one decimal place. So it's actually 16.7. Okay, and we can work through these questions with that same idea going forward. Okay, so now we're looking at question number 6 on this page. And Leanna keeps track of how many vegetables servings or how many servings she gets of each food, and she does a circle graph. So what we should do is let's measure the circle graph and be as accurate as possible. Find the percent of 360. So let's first find the angles. We're going to write them down over here. Okay, and I'm going to write them down. This is page 70, number 6. And this is question A. And we're going to write down the different categories right now. Okay, so I'm going to do bread, vegetable, fruit, dairy, protein. All right, let's start doing some measuring. So this first one seems to be bread. It seems to take 150 degrees. Vegetable is 75 degrees. Oh, they're giving us nice numbers to work with, it looks like. Next one, 60 degrees. Dairy. I know you can't say this, sorry. I'm just going to do this quickly. 45 degrees. And 30 degrees. Okay, now I can do this I can divide all these by 360, and it'll give me a percent, which I'm going to write down right now. So we do 150. 150 divided by 360 is 42%. 75 divided by 360 is 21%. 60 divided by 360 is 17%. 45 divided by 360 is 13%. 30 is 8%. Okay, so I already know this just because I did these questions. All these were rounded up, and this was the only one that stayed the same. That means my percent's probably 1 or 2 off. So it's not actually going to equal 100%, it's going to equal like 101%, but that's because we'd rounded. So nothing to get ourselves all... oh, we should have rounded to 1 decimal place. Oh, I didn't do that. That's okay, though. So because we didn't do that, we're going to get the wrong answer for C and B, or wrong answer. We're going to get over 100 on C and B, which is fine. And then we're going to say, okay, so Lena, for question E, she eats 24 servings a day. And we're going to find what is 42% of 24. And then we're just going to go across, and we're going to do that for all the same questions. Okay, so I'm going to write them over here. And that's going to tell me how many servings she gets. So this is E, if you would like. Okay, so I'm going to say 24%. Oh, sorry, 42% of... Now I got to make sure 0.42 times 24 equals, so I get 10 servings of this. 0.21 times 24, 5 servings of this. This is probably going to be 4 servings, would be my guess. 4 servings. 3 servings. And the last one, 2 servings. Okay, and that sort of shows me generally what she is eating. And then we say, okay, so now let's see how accurate she is for, does she have healthy eating habits right now? Okay, so she has, so what I'm looking at is I'm looking at this, and I'm comparing it to this over here. Right, so these two things are getting compared. I'm going to say, okay, so this one, 6 to 10 servings, 6 to 11, that's good, that's a nice one. Fruits, 2 to 4, okay, she's a little bit over. Vegetable, 3 to 5, she's good. Dairy, good. So overall, what would we say? Well, she'd probably say, we'd probably say that she has pretty healthy eating habits, right? She has eating habits are healthy. This just looked over our last 2 pages that I was unable to do before. I hope this is helpful, and I will see you in a little bit.